What's going on, everybody? It's CryptoVision here, back again with another crypto market update. Today's video, we're going to be checking out Bitcoin, also known as Black Friday Bitcoin. So if you like today's video, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and leave a comment where you're tuning in from. I really appreciate it. So we got Bitcoin here on the weekly. Right, I got some arrows that we can talk about, just the overall structure of what's going on. But before that, um, I kind of want to get into market psychology, macros, right? What's going on in the macro? Because a lot of YouTubers, they just look at the TA, they just look at the charts and, astrology for men, some say, right? But overall, I do like to look at other things that are impacting, not just crypto, but, you know, risk on assets. So the stock market, precious metals, real estate, everything other than when it's relative to the dollar. So what we're looking at here is Bitcoin and market manipulation psychology 101. Okay, we have great macro, right? You're expecting a rate cut in December. QE is beginning December 1st. It's relatively the best time of the year for Bitcoin and risk on assets. And if you're an altcoin holder, you're gonna want to stick around. I'm gonna go over a little bit of Bitcoin dominance, right? Because I know a lot of us aren't in Bitcoin, right? It's just what is moves the market. But overall, I do think there's some good things ahead, right? I'm not bearish yet, not quite yet. So overall, right, this has come down below the 50. Okay, I want to ask you, what is the last memory you have of the 50 EMA on the Bitcoin chart? The 50 EMA on the Bitcoin chart last time was right here. And it was the trampoline to crypto, right? It was the life-saving. It was the lifesaver, right? It was, what everybody was waiting for and hoping for. Oh, we got to bounce on the 50. We can't close below the 50. We got to bounce on the 50. And what do we do? We bounce on the 50. Right? A lot of YouTubers were saying, hey, if we close below the 50, it's a bear market. If we bounce above it, we're still good to go. And what have a lot of people have said, if you close below the 50, you're screwed. Bear market on, right? I do want to use previous cycle to learn from, right? Because it's not exact, but it's, it'll teach us something, right? So this first iteration through, right? This first iteration through, right? Before the bear market started, before this run, what do you see right through here? All right, see a lot of liquidity grabs, right? That's what I see, a lot of liquidity grabs for sure. But I also see this guy right there. Yep, ladies and gentlemen, that is a close below the 50 on the weekly. A close below, a close right here, close below. Closed at 31,788, right? What was the 50 at? The 50 was at 33,000, so close $2,000 below, right? So, it has happened before, and it not only closed below, but what happened the following week? It continued to go lower, right? It continued to go lower, faking out even, committed to the fake out, committed to the manipulation. And then it reversed, right? There was not a full body candle close below the 50, right? Not a full body candle close below the 50, and then it reversed, right? And then in the span of how many weeks? 16 weeks, Bitcoin went up on a rally of 136%. Now, I'm not saying it's going to go on a rally of 136%, but what I am saying is if you close below the 50 and you bounce up and you get above the 50 immediately, that's when you know, okay, we're back, right? We're back. If you do this, where you close below the 50 and then you come up and reject it, that's when I will say, hey, we are going to go down to the 100 EMA. I will be advocating for de-risking on the next bounce, right? On the next bounce. And not everything, but a good allocation. I will be de-risking a ton, right? A ton, just in case. Because the last time it happened, right, you closed below the 50, right? And then you really couldn't get above the 50. And when you did, it took all your momentum. Right? It took all your momentum, and then you went into a bear market for 39 bars for about a year, right? And then you rallied again, right? It's not over for Bitcoin. I don't think Bitcoin is going to zero, right? I don't think Bitcoin, but some people think Bitcoin is going to zero, but maybe 65. Where was the last like drop through here? Yeah, like maybe back test the highs, the first highs, maybe 66, right below the 200, 60,000, right? Still, higher than before, right? You'd still have a higher low, but overall, that's not what we want to see. Okay, and then in terms of what we're doing structurally, right? What we're doing structurally is, you got your 1, 2, right? You got your third wave, 1, 2, 3. You got your fourth, and you're in the middle of a fifth, right? So you got 4 completed, and you're still working on a fifth, in my opinion, right? Other people have different counts. There's a million different counts that you can do, but here's my question, right? Here's my question. Okay, so this is a obviously this is a correction, right? Whether or not it's a correction to begin the bear market, right? But you always get a bounce, right? You always get a bounce. You're going to hit some resistance, maybe 110, 112,000. We'll put some numbers up there. But what is this, right? What is this? This is, right, this is your fourth wave move down, right? I think most can agree on that. That's your fourth wave move down. Okay. Through here, right? Through here. And I'm going to put some TA on it, right? Got a 1, 2. Got a 3. You got a 4. That's what I got. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Same concept right through here. Right, same concept through here. Okay, you kind of had your your 1, 2. So your 1, 2 down through here. You have your 3. You have your 4. Same concept. Okay, then you went up and got your fifth wave of your third wave. Right. So this overall was your third wave. You got 5 waves of your third wave. And then you come down here and correct. So we got 4 completed, and we're working on a fifth. I don't think 5 waves are up. And then just to, show that, the numbers, the charts are showing, us that, this overall so far has been pretty productive. Pretty productive, right? Pretty productive. Okay, so overall, right? I mean, this is a lower, a higher low on a close, right? This is a higher low on the close, right? So, right, you got just above your 3414. I mean, just above it. Okay, came up right through here, bounced on your 618. Right, bounce on your 618, and then you tried to close above your 2618, but you really couldn't, right? You really couldn't. So, right, you got up to your 4272 barely, and this is on that overshooting B wave, right? I don't think that's a fifth wave, right? I think this is your A, B, C. Okay, and so, right, you're looking for that fifth wave. That fifth wave of the fifth wave. That's what we're looking for now, right? That's what we're looking for now. In terms of where we got up to on this 1, 2 down through here, this little 1, 2, right? This little 1, 2. I mean, it's not even comprehensible what Bitcoin did. I mean, look at if you actually zoom into what Bitcoin did. It's not even It's not even remotely the same. Like this area down up like through here. It's not. There's no way that this is your fifth wave. You have 5 waves up through here. That's just not. That's not the way Bitcoin. That's not the way Bitcoin moves. right? You got like your little, your 1, 2, you got like your little, you always have like a little, almost like an interruption during your third wave, almost like a break, and then you regather and get the rest of your third wave. Your third wave is the most impulsive, it's the largest wave, right? And so overall, right, that's what I got. In terms of where we're at in a correction, right? Because a lot of people are, worried about a correction. Okay. Well, let's look at some price targets first, right? Let's look at some price targets first. Okay. So if we do have a, your 1, 2 up through right here, right? Got just above your 4272, right? Just above the 4272, just like we did over here off the 1, 2. Okay, 4272. Down through here, we'll take this up through here, down through there. Overall, right, this 150 is going to come up a lot at that 1272. That 1618, that 171. I've been an advocate somewhere between, the 140s to the possibly to the 170s, 160s, right? But nothing, no $200,000 Bitcoin on this channel. I'm sorry. No $200,000 Bitcoin. It does match up very nice with, this overall concept of not being able to get above this 786. You got above it one time and you really couldn't hold it, right? And so that 1272 is right there. And then, if we have this, we can use this through here, this high. This low. That 1272 is at 158, right? 158. And then the 786 is around that 33,000. We have that marked out on the daily. Let me keep this on the weekly for you. All right, we got this on the daily up through here, 134. This is that next little zone. Yeah, that next little zone. And I'll go through and I'll edit all this. I'm going to keep the resistance. At least 117 is a big one. 109 is a big one. A lot of this stuff is actually, these are all going to be key areas to watch. But let's get back onto the weekly. In terms of the overall correction, right, if this is, if we're looking at a fourth wave, right, let's see where we're corrected at, or corrected to. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. That was 618. Maybe come right down to that 618. That 106 area, like we said, is going to be a big, key area. Let's put this on the weekly. Dang it. I can't keep these on the weekly, can I? It's going to keep just being annoying. All right, let's keep this 106. Let's put this on the weekly. All right. See what that looks like. Boom, right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this slightly up. Right there. Okay, that's like the line in the sand. You got to get back above 106. Got to get above 106, right? Non-negotiable. Okay, 106 is huge. This 618, 94,000, I think, could possibly be the low. But if we are thinking, slightly lower, slightly wick down below the 618 and come back up like that on the next weekly candle, right? So maybe linger around here, right? Bitcoin has sold off drastically over the last couple weeks. We haven't even looked at, the RSI or anything like that, but, hanging around 94, maybe dropping a little bit lower next week and then going. That's kind of what I got for, what we're doing. We have broken down below this RSI on this on the trend line on the RSI. We were hoping for a bounce, right? This is the lowest we've been in a very long time, but overall this is bullish divergence, right? So if we take this out, I'll put it back, right? Bullish divergence now on the weekly chart. A lot of people are screaming bearish divergence, right? So you got lower lows and you got higher highs. Sorry, higher lows. bullish divergence on the weekly, right? A lot of people, including myself, I've pointed out, right? You have bearish divergence on the monthly. But you know what cancels out bearish divergence? You get a close, right? You get a close. Let me move this because we're looking. Let me just add another one. All right, you get a close above that right there. That'll silence a lot of the bearish divergence critics, right? So we have to get a close above 72 on the monthly, and that'll cancel out every single bearish divergence. But on the weekly, right, you have bullish divergence on the weekly. So you have lower low on the RSI, but you have a higher low on price. Okay, so that's great to see. In terms of the daily, right, this thing is probably sold off like crazy on the RSI. We're coming back down to double tap. What did we do in April, right? Because this is kind of similar to April, right? What did we do in April, right? We had a low, right? We had a low, so we did get lower through here. Okay, so and then we came up and we had bullish divergence, right? Because we had a lower low in price, we had a higher low in RSI. Okay, so we were building bullish divergence on the daily. Okay, you got bullish divergence on the Fu Manchu, bullish divergence on the Fu Manchu. No bullish divergence yet noted. None quite yet. Possibly with the close here today, because if we close down through here today, we'd have bullish divergence. So that would be very nice to hold, above whatever this level is. All right, like stop selling off, hold right around here, build up some bullish divergence, because you're definitely oversold, right? You're oversold. Crypto, the fear and greed index is like in the 15s or in the 20s or something like that. It's pretty bad. But overall, right, we have definitely we're definitely oversold. Super oversold. And it's you have this death cross approaching on the daily. Death cross approaching. Okay? What did we do in April? Right, the death cross. Did the death cross even happen? It did not happen. Right, it almost happened, and then you rebounded. So that's something new, right? That'll be something new. If that happens, right, that's probably not the greatest sign. I'll just be honest. It's probably not the greatest sign, but I've noticed throughout time that the death cross typically happens at the very end of the correction, right? But this didn't happen either. This bounced right on it. So that's what we'll be looking for too. Right, just to be honest, right? Just to be honest, that thing, it needs to stay above that. If not, that doesn't look great. It doesn't look great, and you don't have much time. By the time this, this closes today, then you got the weekend. Next week is pretty much it. And to be honest, on this channel, we've kind of been talking about next week. So, we have all of this going on with Bitcoin. And you want to know something with Bitcoin dominance, at least for altcoins. Right? At least for altcoins. I'm an altcoin holder. At least for altcoins, we have a cross on the 20-week EMA is crossing down below the 50. Right? If we get a close like that, the last two times that's happened, we're right here and right here. Okay, so either way, right? Either way, we're going to see some fireworks next week. I do believe next week's going to be, something to behold. We have on the, so that's what I got for Bitcoin, right? 106 is going to be huge for Bitcoin. That 94 to 92,000 more than likely for Bitcoin, right? If you do wick right below through here, right? Somewhere maybe that 619, 197, something like that. Then you go. Something like that. That would be ideal, honestly. I mean, at this point, right, it'd be really ideal. So let's go over to stablecoin dominance. This thing has been crazy. So if you are if you're a altcoin holder, right, we've had this November 24th marked out. for a while. And so I took this fractal from, where did I take this fractal from? I think it was from over here. Right there. Where did I take that? I took it a while ago, and then I actually couldn't make the video. I think it's right here. Yeah, it's like right here. I took the fractal from right over here. Okay, so I took the fractal from over there, and I've applied it to this area of the chart. This fractal, right? I mean, it's almost perfect. It's a little bit different, but you have the same structure, right? And if you don't know, stablecoin dominance is, USDT plus USDC. Those things are combined, right? It's pretty much like the dollar of cryptocurrency. It's the safe haven for your money if you don't want to pay taxes, essentially. So that's what all the whales, they transfer all their money into it, and then they take it out and they buy, Bitcoin or whatever, and then they transfer it back in when they sell. So, right, same kind of structure, right? So you got your three wave move down. Let me just move this up slightly. You have a 3-wave move down. Right, you have a 3-wave move down. Then you got like 5 up, right? Then you got like 5 up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, essentially that's what it is, right? And then after that, you freaking tanked, right? So you had this 5 waves up. We had the cross, right? We have both crosses, right? We already have one cross. Right, this thing is pointed straight up, pretty much like this. This thing is moving with a sense of purpose and urgency. This thing is over here is moving with a purpose and a sense of urgency. Right, and then it started to reverse the other way. This thing has faked out this pattern so many times, right? So many times where you have this huge wick, and now you're up through here, right? You're up through there, you're above it, right? And I've said, hey, you start closing, you do this, and you close a full body candle, close above here. Yeah, it's not a great look for crypto, right? Got to pack up your bags and wait for a little bit. All right, you got to wait for a little bit. On the monthly, same concept, right? Same concept. I mean, you had huge wicks to the upside, Hopefully this ends up being a very large wick to the upside, and November actually turns into a neutral month, right? We're hoping for a neutral month at this point. So that's what I got for stablecoin dominance. That's what I got for Bitcoin, and at this point, right, a lot of people are nervous, right? A lot of people are nervous. We have had this mapped out for a while, right? If you come down here to this 92,000 range, that's why I kind of brought up 92,000. Right, 92,000. Come down, bounce, and then go. My mouse sometimes. That would be ideal, right? That'd be very good, right? That'd be very good. You had that through here, right? You had that little bounce, come down through, bounce. Right. So overall, that's what I got for Bitcoin. If you're interested, I'll be dropping some other videos today. So make sure to hit that like button. I appreciate you stopping by. As always, take it easy. Peace.